Public participation, and we'd like to welcome the Kate Shepherd Memorial Trust who are here, Judith and Kate and Grace. Come on forward. You know you've got 5 minutes and I'm supposed to be very strict about that, don't you?
We'll do our very best.
Yeah, I won't be that strict. Especially if there's poems involved. Right, we're in your hands. Thank you very much, and a very apt day for you to be here.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you for the opportunity, councillors, to present and speak as Chair of Kate Shepherd Memorial Trust. I'm Judith Sutherland, and the Kate Shepherd Trust was established in 1993 Centennial Suffrage from the surplus funds raised by the fundraising committee of the Kate Shepherd Memorial Wall in Oxford Terrace, and I'm sure you all know where that is. The amount invested then was $58,931.36. The award provides a scholarship for women who are undertaking a special project or postgraduate study for the value of the wider New Zealand community. The Kate Shepherd Trust has had a long association with the City Council, and a representative from the council sits on the trust, and that's currently Councillor Templeton. I've also worked with former Councillor Ali Jones. The original fundraising committee, and you'll note the picture up there, was chaired by the late Councillor Molly Clark, seen in this photo. You'll also see Lady Judith Hay as the patron, and there are other familiar faces. We remember these women and their hard work. They have indeed left us a legacy to uphold. Since September 2017, the Trust Advisory Committee has held fundraising and promotional events. It recognises the need to grow the fund for the future for the annual award of $2,500 to $5,000. The committee plans an event in September to celebrate Suffrage 125 and intends running a 2-tier letter campaign seeking sponsorships and donations. Dame Anne Hercus has been advising in this regard. Now, in keeping with International Women's Day and with the flavour of Suffrage 125, the two poetry winners of the National Council of Women Lois Middlemas Poetry Competition will read their work. They could one day be contenders for the award that bears the name of Kate Shepherd. Here they are with conversations with Kate. Now, first of all, Grace, former Kashmir High, who gained second place, will start.
Shall I stand? Right.
If you know.
Pardon me, miss, if I'm interrupting a task, but if you have a moment of a few things to ask, oh, would you, Miss Kate, share with me your skill, give my sisters your passion and my brothers your will. And excuse me, Kate, for I mean not to mock when I call you a shepherd who has guided our flock. To build a bridge, off the builder gets wet. We thank you for your troubles, Kate, but we haven't crossed yet. The river be wide, Kate, the current is strong. Gift us spirit of righteous to push forward through the wrong. Times are changing now, Kate, since the path has been paved, but they still smash the bricks just as soon as they're laid. With the ballot box open, many doors are still closed. The right to equality still for many opposed. I know you're not here, Kate, but your legacy stays. Thank you for your passage. I can't count all the ways.
Oh, that's amazing.
Katie Ellis was the first prize winner, and she's still at St Margaret's College. You Can is the title.
You can stand, but you must be silent. You can watch, but you must not complain. You can experience, but you must not learn. You can be affected, but you cannot vote. You can sit and be pretty, but you cannot age. You can watch it or take it away, but you cannot cry for it back. You can wait for a change unless you make it. You can stand up and be counted unless you let them stop you. You can be strong unless you let their voices exceed yours. You can be as loud as you wish so long as your voice can carry and teach. You can have a say in your world so long as you prepare to overcome silence. You can be who you wish to be so long as you ignore those who would take back your freedom. You can be free if you don't expect it to be handed to you. You can be independent if you don't hold on to the expectations of the past. You can be a new woman if you vote. You can. Wait. That change, what became of it? What of difference, what of strength? The battle did not end, it merely began with that paper. I thought you knew, I thought you knew. Bodies piled high, degraded, disrespected on the grounds of biology. Will she have children? Soon? How can she be right either way? He is right, he lacks the limitations, he lacks the risk. She is a risk. Rise, should you, shout, can you, fight, will you? A pretty face does not dismiss, a quick wit, a sly grin, a love of life and knowledge, a purpose. Feminine strength, not flesh, but a mind and a resilience. From here to the red hot end, you can.
Thank you so much, and you'll hear more from the Kate Shepherd Memorial Trust. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much indeed. That was just a lovely way to start the meeting on Women's Day. Thank you. The next deputation we have is from Barbara Price. It's the deputation by appointment. Welcome, Barbara, on the Christchurch School of Gymnastics. Welcome, make yourself at home.
I'd like to thank the councillors for allowing me this time to speak. I'm speaking to item 13 as a parent of a gymnast because I'm quite passionate about gymnastics and the benefits that it can bring to children with what we call silent disabilities, the dyslexia, dyspraxia, these type of disabilities. I wanted to make sure that the councillors, before voting on item 13, were aware that gymnastics isn't just about a sport for a few people, that what we're asking for at CSG is support for a rebuild of a facility that helps far more than just the people who are going to go on to become competitive gymnasts. So speaking from my son's point of view and speaking as a parent, my son has sensory processing disorder, which means that he has way more connections to a sensory system than what is normal, which means that walking through life on a day-to-day basis is a painful activity for him. In a school ground setting, if you touch him coming out of class, if he's trying to get through the cloakroom, these are the sort of children who lash out because they feel as if they've been whacked or punched by somebody, but in effect they've just had a light touch. So getting through schooling is a difficult situation. As well as that, he has dyspraxia, and dyspraxia affects so many people in our population. And for those that don't know, that's a neurological thing where the connection in the brain between what you've thought and then your physical action is a delay. So like having a speech stutter, but you've got a movement stutter. So for these children in primary school, when they try to do PE, and so much of the PE is now tag games or playing candles or any of those type of things, it's the absolute torture for these kids because they have to try to adjust to another person's movement, and it's hard enough for them to actually get their own movement out without adjusting to what somebody else is doing. So sports that the council quite rightly support, like soccer, rugby, netball, all of the mainstream sports that people wouldn't question, that as ratepayers we support those facilities. Those sports are just not sports that a dyspraxic can play. A dyspraxic would even have trouble trying to manage a bike. So it affects their self-esteem. Used to be called the clumsy child. But my son at 6, it was recommended to us that he go into gymnastics as part of an intensive occupational therapy program that he had been under since he had been a baby. He was under the difficult feeders clinic at Christchurch Hospital from 2. By the time he was 6, he still couldn't eat solid food because the sensory processing, the dyspraxia, affected him to that extent. This is a boy who's gone on to, through gymnastics and through the repetitive nature of the training, has strengthened up his sequencing part in his brain so that rather being the total disorganised child that's always getting into trouble, which happens to so many of these kids, he has been the head boy at Breens Intermediate. He's been prefect of Burnside High School 2 years in year 12, year 13, and he's now at university doing a fine arts degree. All of this because he has 6 days a week trained in gymnastics, which has enabled him to calm his brain and calm his body and be able to live a fulfilled life as other people do. So my plea to you when you consider this is to consider the children who can't play normal sport, but that gymnastics is actually a way for them to be able to have a fulfilling and develop themselves to their full potential. So the new building at CSG already provides school training programs, the PE program for 64 schools, and in 2016 that was nearly 5,000 children. So with what we call the DISs, dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, it's really important for early intervention. So at the moment, the energy of parents like myself who volunteer our time is just completely sapped up with trying to get through this process of funding and pushing, for the rebuild of the building. But if we have that building, then we have the space. We haven't got the constant reminders of earthquakes. We haven't got the cracked walls that the kids are looking at. We haven't got the function room, which you see through the windows with the fallen roofs and the remnants of the earthquake. We take those anxieties away from the kids. We give them a facility where we can now start getting our energies back to working with. We have an excellent OT in Christchurch that has been waiting now for 7 years to start working, where we can run programs with schools specifically for the kids with the DISs and use the skills and qualifications of like CSG professional coaches to implement these OT programs, which are just way too expensive for parents to do individually. We can't afford to pay $120 an hour for just one. But if we get smart and say to a school, these 6 kids can come by taxi to the school, and the OT has a specialised program and the gym can implement it. These are real advantages that can go out to our wider community. And people like my son, I know that you don't grow out of it because he had an injury last year and he couldn't train in the gym. He immediately reverted back to being anxious, uptight, the explosiveness of the temper is there. He has been A+ grades. His studio in the second half of the year slipped to C grade because he couldn't cope with being around that noise and the smells and people eating and all those things. Now he's back in the gym 3 days a week, immediately his results at university, first 2 critiques, no issues with work that he has to change, he's happy. So I would just implore you to think outside of just how many people do the sport, but think in terms of those lives that can be changed because they can participate in the sport. So on top of people like Daniel, we've got adults who come for casual classes, we've got teens, we've got dance, we've got hip hop, parkour, cheerleading, CrossFit. The facilities, when you consider whether you would grant this funding, it's not just the gymnastics club. We share these facilities, we allow them to be used by other groups. So groups currently who've used it have been the Crusaders, and I've put in a letter of support from the Crusaders that backs up what I'm saying about the development. We've had pole vaulters training because using the foam pits reduces their injuries. Snowboarders the same. We've had cricketers, the Big Fun Special Needs Group, Kids Fest, Cholmondeley Children's Home, Cancer Society, Autistic Society. CSG facility is not just for a club of just gymnasts. CSG facility is a regional facility that people train to come to do safe training and to use those expertise. I've been involved in doing the lotteries grant applications. So far we've got letters of support from the Crusaders, Shirley Boys High, Nova, Montessori's, Mount Pleasant, Queen's Park, Avonside Girls, Rangi, and we've still got other letters that are coming in. So that, contrary to what you might see on social media of it only being about something very small, it isn't. It's an organisation that reaches out, and that the benefits of developing motor coordination, flexibility, there's just nothing but positive there for our future generations of Christchurch. So I thank you for your time and ask you to consider those points.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Barbara. You've got time for one question. Aaron.
Yeah, Barbara, thank you for your presentation, because it certainly educated me on a huge part of what the CSG do that I didn't know about and didn't understand. My question is more around the Crusaders letter. Great little letterhead there. And they are supporting, and you read out a whole lot of others that are supporting your funding applications with just endorsements, obviously. Have you received one from the council?
No, we haven't.
Right, okay.
We haven't received a letter of support from the council.
So, Vicky, can we look into that, how we do? I know that she's
Let's do
applying
that
for
after
funding.
today's one.
After today,
Yep.
yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. It was a very good presentation. What we'll do, Barbara, is actually go on to that item, so you don't have to sit and wait through all of the audit stuff. Yeah, yeah. So all of you have got a memo that came to you on the hub on the 7th of March. David, John, do you want to say anything else